Hello everyone and welcome to another Tuesday evening here with us at our YouTube channel with B'nai Baruch. Now, as usual, we're going to carry on with selected excerpts on the topics that we're normally running, and we're going to continue from last week's, which is ruin as an opportunity for correction. We're going to continue from excerpt number 5. If you're new to the YouTube channel, on this channel you can find courses pertaining to semester 1, 2, and 3. So you can go through those if you're interested in the wisdom of Kabbalah. And if you want to take it on, you can also go and visit Kabbalah.info and join the CABU Academy and join like-minded people Probably there's one around you in your country or city around the world, which you can join and study with us. We're more than happy to have you on board. So let's get smashing without further overdue. Excerpt number 5. This is from Rabash, article number 179. After the sin of Adam Harishon, the creatures are regarded as broken and dead kelim. That is, their kelim are only in self-reception, separated from the life of lives. There is only a spark in them from the reshimot of Or Choser, the reflected light, that remained and descended in order to sustain the kelim, so that through it they will be able to rise for the revival of the dead. That spark is a spark of holiness and is a residue of the Or Choser. We must raise it, meaning receive it in order to bestow, which is called raising, meaning raising man. By this, masach, the screen, and aviut, the thickness, are made, on which comes the filling, when the Or Choser fills the kelim to an extent that will clothe the lights, or yashar, which is direct light. All right, so let's go over it slowly, because there are a bunch of technical terms here, so we don't want to get confused and we want to keep it nice and easy. After the sin of Adam Harishon, the creatures are regarded as broken and dead kelim. So we all know about the sin of Adam Harishon, okay, in the Garden of Eden. And basically what that is he used his desire to receive for himself. Okay, that's what it means to be thrown out of heaven or to have done a sin. Man's attribute is a desire to receive pleasure. The Creator's attribute is the desire to bestow. If we use our desire to receive in order for self-benefit, that's called being broken or dead. Okay, it means dead. They use the word dead. It's not because it's dead or anything. It's because it's not functional in spirituality. You cannot use your vessel to receive for yourself in spirituality. And because of that, it's called dead. Otherwise, there's no way we can kill or destroy what the Creator created. All right? So as long as I'm in a desire to receive for my personal pleasure, benefit, it means my vessel is broken. I have no place in spirituality under those circumstances, and it means my vessels are dead. That is, their kelim, which are the vessels, are only in self-reception, separated from the life of lives. So the life of lives is obviously the Creator here. Okay, there's only a spark in them from the reshimot of Or Choser, the reflected light, that remained and descended in order to sustain the kelim, so that through it they will be able to rise for the revival of the dead. All right, so there's a bit of an interesting part for us. In everyone, there's a spark from the breaking of the soul of Adam Harishon. Okay, that spark doesn't come from the desire to receive. It comes from the desire to receive's intention to bestow. So what Adam lost was the intention to bestow like the Creator to the Creator. And that's called the sin. And that's what's broken. The intention to bestow is broken, not the vessel itself. Sometimes in the books, it says the vessels are broken, but it says it's correct to say it that way because the desire is no longer usable. Because if I don't have the intention to bestow on a desire, I can't use it in spirituality. That's why they say the desire is broken. But you must always remember that it is the intention on the desire that's broken. And all of the reshimah that we get is from the breaking of those intentions. Okay? Because the desire to receive was created initially. There's nothing to break about it. The only thing that's breakable is the intention. There's only a spark in them from the reshimot of Or Choser that remained and descended in order to sustain the kelim, so that through it they will be able to rise for the revival of the dead. Okay, so what we need to do is to ensure we grow the spark in the heart. Now, why do we need that spark in the heart? Because in order to sustain the vessel so that through it they will be able to rise for the revival of the dead. Now, inside of us, if we didn't have that dot in the heart, we would have absolutely no pleasure at all in life. So that little spark is the only thing that gives us a little bit of pleasure, and that pleasure is ever so fleeting. It's not constant. This is why I can never be constantly happy. All right? So because I can't be constantly happy all the time, it's because of the break-in, but the desire to receive must have some pleasure, and that pleasure comes through those small desires that we have, and that's done through the breaking, that spark. Okay, it's like sometimes it's written in the text as our life here is like a thin candle, a thin light from a candle, because the pleasures we get are very small and they're always disappearing. Right? So the pleasures we get are only enough to sustain us, just enough, okay, just enough to keep us, not jumping off the cliff. Well, many people still jump off the cliff, but the concept is that. All right. The spark is a spark of holiness because it's from the Masach. Okay. This is why, because the Masach could bestow. So when the Masach is broken, you have a spark from something that was holy. We must raise it, meaning receive it, in order to bestow. So what I have to now do is put the broken Masach, the intention to bestow, that is, back together again, which is called raising, meaning raising man. Now, raising man means raising a prayer. All right. Man is short for Mey Nukvin, which means female waters. So the desire for the water, desire for mercy. All right. So water is mercy. Nukva is female. So the desire for the upper waters, which is bestowal. And that's basically it. So by doing so, the Masach and the Aviyut are made, on which comes the filling. So I can't really have any filling at all if I do not match the Masach, the screen, to the desire. So I need to have the same intention to bestow as the Creator. Otherwise, I cannot get any fulfillment. And this is how the light will clothe inside the vessel. Otherwise, we can never, ever have a light in the vessel. All right, excerpt number 6. You guys stop me if there are any questions, okay? There's one already? 5 already. Crikey. David's asking, why was the breaking necessary? The breaking is necessary because if we didn't have the breaking, there was no way we could bring our consciousness to the level of the Creator. If we were already created in perfection, we wouldn't know the difference between perfection and imperfection. In order to build man, in order to make him something complete, in order to give him the same level of understanding upon reality, just like the Creator, man has to go through the breaking so he can discern two opposite realities. One's bad, one's good. So the breaking is bad, the wholeness is good. This is why the Creator first created everything in perfection, right? So Adam was in the Garden of Eden, right? So everything was great, everything was perfect. So he's got a notion of what perfection is because he can bestow to the Creator in that state. Then the Creator sets him up for a sin. Obviously, it's not Adam's fault, right? Nothing's Adam's fault. It's like when kids break a glass or a vase, right? We can't say it's the kid's fault. Okay, he just, he's playing with it. He doesn't understand it's glass and it gets broken. So Adam wanted to use a greater level of his desire in order to bestow, but he didn't know how to work with it. He didn't know how to do it. So what happened was he used the desire with a greater level of aviyut, which is called Eve. Okay, and aviyut is that next level of coarseness. And he couldn't bestow with it. And he got a lot of pleasure from it. He enjoyed it. And because he enjoyed it and couldn't bestow with it, he broke. So now he has an understanding of what also the breaking is. So I now know what it was like to bestow to the Creator, because I was doing it before. And now, after this new level of coarseness in me, this new level of desire to receive called even me, when it came out, I used the desire, but I couldn't bestow with it, but I enjoyed receiving from it. And that reception for Adam's self was the cause of the breaking. So without the breaking, you couldn't really tell what wholeness was. This is why Adam needed a new level of coarseness called Eve. Also in life, it's the same thing. Remember, as kids, what do we do when they buy us a toy? We play around with it and then we break it. Okay, why do we break it? Because we want to know what's inside. Okay, if I don't know what's inside the tool, it drives the kid crazy. So he has to break the tool. Okay, he's got to break the toy. In other words, he has to break it. Okay, he needs to see what's in it. Okay, only then he can understand how things are working. So this is how it is by nature as well, laws of nature. Taught by Emeralds is asking, how do we grow the spark in the heart? Well, we have to work on it, because the spark in the heart is a part of bestowal, like it says here. However, though, if I'm not in bestowal, if I'm immersed in my desire to receive, like we are in this world, I need some kind of an advertising campaign. Something to show me that the dot in the heart is more important than self-reception. And if I can have people advertising it to me all the time around me in the environment, then that's good, because then I could use the attribute of jealousy and say, well, I want to be like them as well. Isn't that great? We're all going to love everyone. Okay. If the guys in the group, if they don't tell me we need to do this, if they don't show me how great this goal is, nobody is ever going to agree that loving everybody is a good deal. Okay, everybody's going to look at us and say, that's a bad deal, buddy. Okay, so we need a good, strong environment. And that can help us, grow our desire for bestowal. And also, you could also do this. You could also say, the environment can also help me to hate my egoism. All right, it's actually the same thing. So if I hate my egoism, I can start working on trying to bestow. Dave is asking, does everyone have a spark in the heart? Does my dog have one too? I don't know about your dog, but I know everybody does. Okay, the whole of reality actually does. If you take a look at the whole of reality, right, if there wasn't a spark in everything, the plants, animals, we wouldn't live either. Nobody would live. Okay, there are levels to that though. So the degree of human is where we can use the spark to be like the Creator, because having some kind of spark in us just to sustain life is one thing, but having it to develop us to the next phase is a whole different ballgame. And that's what separates us from the still, vegetative, and the animate levels. But without a spark from the Creator, nothing would actually live. But the potential is a difference, obviously. What does the Masach do? Masach is an equalizer. It will equalize us to the Creator. So just like the Creator is bestowing and loving, what we want to develop by this Masach, or also known as an intention, is the attribute to reciprocate this love and bestowal towards the Creator. Why would the Creator, David's asking still, why would the Creator give us a screen that doesn't match automatically? Well, if you got it automatically, you'd never value it. As they say, there's no value in a free gift. Okay? If you earn it yourself, though, rather than getting it freely, it's a whole different ballgame. Because then you're your own man. You can say, hey, I'm David, I'm the man. Why? Because I got this. I got this. I did this. I made this. Okay. And why is that important? That is important because the Creator doesn't want David to feel any less than the Creator. Otherwise, that would spoil the goodness of the Creator. The Creator wants to make sure David is independent in the reality and the realm of the Creator. So David's got to do some work and build his own reality, just like David had to do the same thing in corporeal reality. We have to grow up and build a life for ourselves, don't we? Have a profession, work, family, build our own life in reality. The Creator wants the same thing from David. He says, David, I want you now to build your reality in my reality. So we're done with corporeal reality. On top of that, I want you to add spirituality. Arturul is asking, how can I raise man? What should I do? Man is a necessity that I feel. It can only be built if you invest in building it. What is the true desire in this work? A true desire means that I've got no room for any other desire. It means I want one thing only. That's it. All right, we're done? We're good? All right, so let's go on to item number 6. This is from Baal Islam's Shamati article number 81, concerning raising man. It is known that because of the breaking, sparks of holiness fell into the wells of Bia. But there in Bia, they cannot be corrected. Therefore, they must be raised to Atzilut by doing the commandments and good deeds with the aim to bring contentment to his maker and not to himself. These sparks rise to Atzilut. So what I have to do is, from my current state, I have to raise my desire to bestow, my intention to bestow, to the level of the Creator. We don't have a desire to bestow here. Well, we can't even have a desire to bestow here. We're a desire to receive. All right, we're all good with that. The only thing I can do is want to change my intention. If I want to change my intention, then what I have to have is a desire to change my intention. How can I have a desire to change my intention? I can have a desire to change my intention if I see that my current intention is giving me grief. Okay, and that's called the revelation of evil. This is why, as we live, as we develop as human society, more and more evil becomes revealed to us. So what we have to do is raise it to a world called Atzilut. Atzilut comes from the word Etzlo, the place of the Creator, his place. So only at that level am I able to correct my intention, and only there. Once I correct the intention, then I can use the desires in the worlds of Bia in order to bestow. All right, this is why how to bestow, we can only learn how to bestow from the Creator. That's why we have to first raise ourselves to Atzilut and then work with the desire to receive. Okay. Excerpt number 7. Due to the breaking of the vessels, all the otiot means letters, which also means vessels. All the otiot were ejected to corporeal conducts and people. When one corrects oneself and reaches one's root, he must collect them by himself, one by one, and bring them back to the root, to holiness. This is the meaning of to sentence oneself and the entire world to the side of merit. Let's read it again. Due to the breaking of the vessels, all the otiot were ejected to corporeal conducts and people. So after the vessel, after the breaking, all of the vessels called the letters, the otiot, all right, fell into reception for themselves. What do we have to do? We have to correct ourselves in order to return back to our root. What is our root? Our root is the Creator. And so we have to go back to the Creator. So what do? Raising ourselves means that along my spiritual path, all the desire to receive, I reveal. All the desire to receive for myself that I reveal, I have to collect all of them. All right. So our path relies heavily and is dependent on how much of my evil nature, which is egoism, desire to receive for myself, is revealed. If I do not reveal it, okay, it's not going to pan out, because then I've got nothing to correct. If I've got nothing to correct, I've got nothing to raise myself with. Okay, then I always remain like a small kid, small child. So as we grow up also in corporeality, what happens? We grow more egoistic. Don't we? Kids don't have a lot of ego, but as we grow up, more egoism gets added onto us. We have a greater desire to receive. But if we didn't have a greater desire to receive, we would never advance as humanity, would we? We'd still be living in the caves. So us growing up, having more egoism, having a greater desire to receive, allows us to develop. Therefore, in spirituality, if I want to develop the attribute of bestowal, what's going to reveal to me are the desires where I need to use the attribute of bestowal in order to fulfill them. All right, so I should reveal to myself all of the bad traits in me, which is against the love of others. Okay, so wanting to eat, wanting to get rich, that kind of stuff is not a bad desire. We're not talking about those. We're not talking about corporeal desires. We're talking about bad, evil desires, which are against me loving somebody else. Okay, desires or traits in me, which is against the good of others. All right, only those need to get corrected. Other than that, nothing needs to get corrected. So it's already a lot of work trying to reveal that. Okay, because normally our desires are corporeal desires. So when we're talking about spirituality, we need to reveal that evil specifically directed towards others. If we don't do that, we can't advance, because we're not supposed to correct how much food to eat, how much sex, how much money, how much knowledge. That's not the things that we're supposed to be correcting. Okay, those are also a part of the deal, but they're not the real deal. The real deal is in the connection between us, because from that connection we raise ourselves to connect with the Creator. What else does he say here? When one corrects oneself and reaches one's root, which is bestowal, which is the Creator, he must collect them by himself, one by one, and bring them back to the root, to holiness. So as I go and advance in spirituality, if I advance more and more, I pick up those things I need to correct. I raise them to the world of Atzilut, take them to the root, which means to also correct them. This is the meaning of to sentence oneself and the entire world to the side of merit. So the more corrections I do, the better it is for the whole system, for everybody. Excerpt number 8. Man can toil and labor if no correction results from it. But for a small thing, which does not require much effort, if it is on the path of correction, there's no strength, since the corruptions come from the breaking of the vessels of the sin of the tree of knowledge. Since this is still not corrected, corruptions still reign. This reign gives power, which is not so on the path of correction. This requires a different governance called peace. All right, so let's go one by one. Man can toil and labor if no correction results from it. So normally, we can do things for a benefit. We do a lot of things to change the world, right? But it's very difficult to do something to change myself. It's exactly what he's saying. Okay. But for a small thing, which does not require much effort, if it is on the path of correction, if it is in order to change myself, there's no strength to do it. Since the corruptions come from the breaking of the vessel of the sin of the tree of knowledge, right? So this is why you get a lot of people who want to change the world, make it a better place, and they seemingly have a great amount of force for it. They have power, they run around, they do all kinds of stuff, right? However, if we were to ask them to do just something really small to change their egoistic nature, they would have no energy or strength for it. Since this is still not corrected, corruptions still reign. So as long as we do not correct and change ourselves, the world will go from bad to worse. This reign gives power, which is not so on the path of correction. This requires a different governance called peace. So what we have to do is bring the evil to perfection, which is called peace. It needs to be corrected, in other words. Right? Peace comes from the word shalom. Shalom means peace. Comes from the word shlemut, perfection. So only if I correct my egoistic nature, then I can bring the world to peace. So all of the world reformers, they want to change the world, make the world a happier, better place. They will never, ever succeed. Never. All right, so we need to make sure everybody understands that as well. You cannot change the world. Okay, we've got questions. Right, you got questions, we got answers. David's asking, can you please tell us more about the good deeds, please? Good deeds mean anything I do in order to reach the purpose of my life. That's what a good deed is. So whatever I do in order to reach the purpose of life is called a good deed. So right now, us studying as well here is called a good deed. It's called a mitzvah. Why? Because I'm working in order to, I'm working and I'm exerting myself, trying to understand what I need to change, how I need to change, so I could raise myself in spirituality. That is already for us a good deed. How do we reveal the ego so we can correct it? Great question. In order for me to correct my egoism, I have to first work towards loving others. Because a few minutes ago, it's like I said, we want to correct things that are against caring for others, because our nature is caring for ourselves. This is what egoism means, right? Egoism, the dictionary definition for ego is giving myself an exaggerated amount of importance. Now, if I give myself importance, it means I have to deduct from your importance. Okay? So now, if all of us are reducing the importance of everybody else and making ourselves importance, meaning that I self-justify myself for fulfilling every desire I have in whichever way I want, then we get chaos. Okay? So revealing the evil means I have to work with other people, with like-minded people. I can't just work with anyone off the street. It's got to be a group of people who understand the process they're going through. So we all work together in order to connect with each other. And the more we try to connect inside of us, we will have irritations and desires against that. And that is what I need to correct. Okay, this is why I said a minute ago, you don't have to correct how much food you eat, how much money you make, how much, how much pleasures you get from corporeal reality. It's not the point. Right? The point is the connection between people where I have to make concessions. All right. So I have to see where my will to receive is not allowing me to make concessions towards the benefit of others. Okay. And those things I need to correct. Now, those things also I can't correct because I cannot change myself, can I? I didn't create myself. But if I see what I need to change, then I can want to change. And that's called raising man, which we just read 2 excerpts ago, right? So I see that my egoistic nature is problematic. I see it's causing me harm. It doesn't allow me to raise myself above this corporeal existence and perception of reality. So I begin to actually hate my ego. Hating my ego is pretty much the opposite of loving bestowal, right? At the same token, they're connected. I don't know what bestowal is, so I can't want to bestow, right? We don't know what it is. But if I understand that my ego is causing me harm, I can hate egoism. Does that make sense? All right. That's why reality always works on 2 opposite ends. So by hating my egoism, I'm actually pumping my desire to bestow. Why? Because I want to run away from Egypt. What's the Pharaoh? Pharaoh is our egoism. Okay. So if I see that the Pharaoh is constantly enslaving me, causing me problems, making life a hell, then I'd want to get out of that situation. Does that make sense? Okay. So when they're running out of Egypt, nobody really knows where they're going because nobody knows. What does that mean? Nobody knows where they're going. Well, we don't know where we're going. We're just running into the desert, right? Well, that's the same thing as we don't know what bestowal is. But we're pretty damn sure we don't want to stay the way we currently are. All right. So that's what's making them run away. Remember, human nature works in 2 ways. I'm either attracted to pleasure or I run away from suffering. All right. Same thing. So in Egypt, they're running away from the suffering. Okay. There is no other way the desire to receive can go. It's either running for pleasure or running away from suffering. And that's how it is. So we need to actually see how egoism is harming us. Another question from Taught by Emeralds. What is power in the excerpt? The governance of peace, man can toil and labor if no correction results from it. But for a small thing which does not require much effort, if it is on the path of correction, there is no strength, since the corruptions come from the breaking of the vessels of the sin of the tree of knowledge. Since this is still not corrected, corruptions still reign. This reign gives power, which is not so on the path of correction. This requires a different governance called peace. Since the corruptions come from it means the power is from the desire to receive. So as long as the desire to receive rules inside of me, that's the reigning power. It's like the power of Pharaoh. And what does it say? This reign gives power, which is not so on the path of correction. This requires a different governance. On the path of correction, I need a different kind of power. And that power is called peace. Okay. Peace also as in, like I explained, bringing the right and the left line together to a reconciliation. Okay, so I first reveal the evil in me, the egoism. I decide not to use it because I see it's doing me harm. But then I don't know what to do with it. So I'm running away. Okay. Later, I have to learn how to use that same desire, which I couldn't use before, in a bestowing manner. That's the thing I need to raise to Atzilut, which we read earlier as well. Okay. So without raising myself spiritually first, there is no way I can use a desire correctly. It's always going to be egoistic. Arturul's asking, how can I sure that Creator accept my man? How can I be sure that the Creator will accept my man? Well, we don't know. You only know when you get an answer, okay? But the Kabbalists are saying the Creator accepts everybody's prayer, okay? The whole of reality is a prayer. Even when a bird is thirsty, it's a prayer. Why? Because that's its desire to drink some water. So any desire we have is actually a prayer to the Creator. The question is, are we raising the right kind of prayer? If you raise the right kind of prayer in the right kind of way, that will be accepted by the Creator, you get a result. If you're praying and you feel like you got no result, what does that tell you? Not good enough. Yeah, not good enough. So it is. So we have to work on it. Mohammed's asking, what is the best way to change or correct the ego? The best way to change or correct the ego is to ask the Creator if he can do us a good favor and change our egos. Because the Creator created us. I can't correct my ego. This is why recognizing the evil of my ego gives me the opportunity to ask the Creator to correct it. Okay, that's called a prayer. So the correct prayer should always be me revealing my egoism, my self-centered selfishness, and then asking the Creator to correct it, because I don't have the strength to change my own nature. It's a nice question. Isoke is asking, can the ego rise up in us and we don't recognize it? What is the best way to spot the ego and to arrange ourselves to choose not to follow it? The best way to recognize the ego is to try to connect with the friends in the group. Because the ego is the thing, is the force against that connection. The ego means I'm important. Bestowal means you're important for me. For me, you are more important than I am for myself. That's what spirituality is. And if I work in that direction, my nature is never going to agree. Ever. But the more I work on it, the more I begin to see how my nature is working. I can get to the nitty-gritty of stuff, all the details. And then in me, I'll begin to see all these details that are against the path, against caring for others, against loving others. And I'll see that I'm always coming back to self-benefit. Whatever I do, I'm always coming back to doing me good. Okay? And the more I see that, it builds a demand to the Creator that you need to do something. You need to change me. This is why the prayer takes a while to develop and build, simply because it needs to be a heartfelt prayer, which means that there is no other desire in my heart other than this. Okay. Ingrid's asking, how to make one run for pleasure instead of pain? Run for pleasure instead of pain. Well, then I've got to see the reward. Okay. If I want to run to pleasure, I've got to see some reward at the end of it. Then I can run. Okie dokie. So let's read a little bit more. Let's read one more, and then we'll call it a night. Where are we? Number 9? Yeah? Okay. Number 9 it is then. Number 9. This is from Rabash article number 26. What is he who defiles himself is defiled from above in the work. This kli called receiving in order to bestow is the complete opposite of the kli called will to receive for oneself, which we attribute to the Creator, who created it existence from absence. Hence, if we want to work only for the sake of the Creator and not for our own sake, it is hard work, since we must fight against the kli, against the vessel, the desire, that the Creator created. From this work come all the lacks we learn about, such as the departure of the lights, the breaking of the vessels, the holiness, the good side, the bad side, and the klipot. Also, all the names we see explained in the Zohar and in books of Kabbalah extend only from the correction of creation. This is so because we attribute the kelim, the vessels, of the correction of creation to the creatures, as it is written in the beginning of the Tree of Life, and as he explains in the study of the 10 Sifrot, that the first will to receive, called Malchut, the Ein Sof, said that she does not want to receive in order to receive, but in order to bestow. All right. So here, when we understand our true nature, which is receiving in order to receive pleasure for ourselves, in this world, the things we run after make sense. But in spirituality, it just doesn't make sense at all, because we're completely opposite in that state to the Creator. And because spirituality is all about bestowal, the Creator created the desire to receive for oneself out of absence, from nothing. There was no such thing as a desire to receive before. So the Creator created the will to receive. Why? Well, think about it. We're a desire to receive. So we constantly do things to receive, right? Don't we? We do, right? Okay. So if the Creator is bestowal, all his actions are constantly in bestowal. In order to bestow, I got to have someone to bestow. Okay. And I have to have someone to bestow who will want what I want to bestow. It sounds rather egoistic from the Creator's point of view, right? I want to bestow. I'm going to create someone who wants something so I can bestow. Okay. It sounds like he's the egoist, not us. Okay. That's how it sounds like. Well, from an egoistic point of view, that's how it looks like. And you can always argue that, but arguing about it won't help us solve the problem. Okay. So we're not going to argue about it. We're going to see what we can do in the current state we're in. All right. So the attribute of the Creator is the will to bestow. And he created us out of absence as the will to receive. So in order for us to have everything that the Creator wants to give us, we have to have a change in nature. We have to actually approach life in a different way. Okay. We have to use our attribute of reception in order to bestow. We will always be a desire to receive. This will never change. But what will change is our intention to use the desire in order to bestow. And that intention is what equalizes us to the Creator, because the Creator wants to bestow to us pleasure. And what we want to do is to receive from him because he wants to bestow. So I want to receive only because he wants to bestow. If he didn't want to bestow, I don't want to touch it. Okay. But because he wants to bestow, and because that's making him happy, I'm going to do that and receive just so that he can be happy. And that equivalence of intention is what we're after. This has two benefits for us. One, we get a sack of goodies, okay? And the second thing is we also get to feel and absorb and exist in reality like the Creator. And that's the important thing. All right, I'm not sure if that makes sense or not, but if you think about it, conscious-wise, we're existing in the reality of the Creator because the way we use our attribute is just like the Creator, which is bestowed. Okay, but we're receiving in order to bestow, and that's a really important thing to do. Now, how are we going to stop receiving? How to change reception into bestowal? That, as we work more and more in the wisdom of Kabbalah, it becomes more and more apparent as I work in the group. Because then I begin to see my egoistic nature. Then I begin to change. I want to change. I begin to want to change, basically. Right? I begin to want to change. I begin to want to be something different than this egoistic person that I am. Right? And that's called a prayer. That's called raising man. And that's the kind of thing we're after. All right. And that's a process in the study, in the work. So as we work more and more, we'll begin to recognize and see really those egoistic traits that are keeping us away from a good life. All righty. So that was number 9. Finished. We've got a question. Inga is asking, what kind of pleasures one should receive, how to discern? What kind of pleasures one should receive and how to discern? We should receive pleasure from loving another person, and because of that love, bestowing to that person exactly what they desire. Okay? And that's the discernment I should have. I should be able to feel the desire of the other person and fulfill that desire without any self-benefit, even if I don't agree with it. Okay? But because I love them and it's their desire and I feel them like they're a part of me, and I do everything to fulfill them with no self-gratification, no self-return for me at all, without any self-benefit. All right? Hope that makes sense and answers the question. All right, then. So we're going to love you and leave you. We're going to have a bit of a break in the next few weeks. The guys will give you an update on that. Okay. The reason is I'm going to be away for a while, but I'll be back afterwards, and then we'll carry on as usual. But the guys will give you an update. We're always going to have a broadcast in any case. Okay. But it's just that because I will not be around with the setup for a broadcast. All right. In the interim, have a good one. All the best, and we'll see you guys next time.